Yo, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I was like open them up. Sure that she talking and open them up. If it says something, we open me out. And then it's up and it's open me out. And then it's got and it's part of this nothing.
And now from an undisclosed location, you are now tuned in to the Xander Effect with host Xander Dames.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Xander Effect. I'm your host, Xander Dames, and my co-host here, Jeremy Miller, sounds like he's like coughing up a lung. How you doing, Jeremy?
Coughing up a lung. I had one little cough. You want to hear coughing up a lung? Stick around.
Sounds like he's doing fantastic. And of course, we have a brand new co-host. She decided to stick around. She decided to tolerate us just a little bit longer. Miss the lovely Lonni Rivera. Lonni, how you doing?
Hey guys, I'm back for more abuse.
Nice.
We love it.
Nice.
You guys gave me a lot of love and support the other day. So, and hey, the response was great. I had a bunch of friends who are now following the podcast. So, hey, I'm back for more.
Give them time. So they just learned just a little bit of us, okay? You know, they still need to like get to know us before they start really hating us. So, I mean, no, but it's really good to have you on the Xander Effect. You definitely brought a little bit of, you're definitely going to keep Jeremy on his toes. Me, not so much. I'll be all right.
No, I love it. It's like I get to bring, my perspective. That's what it's all about, right?
Well, that's what it's always been all about, all the time, all day. So, yeah, no, it was cool to have you here. I'm glad that you're with us. And let's go ahead and dive into some entertainment news here. We unfortunately lost a legend in rock and roll. Eddie Van Halen passed away yesterday at the age of 65 after a battle with throat cancer. His son, Wolf Van Halen, went to social media and said, quote, "He was the best father I could ever ask for. Every moment I've shared with him on and off stage was a gift. My heart is broken, and I don't think I'll ever fully recover from this loss." Wolf Van Halen actually took his father's place in the band shortly after, Eddie started developing, he started battling cancer and everything, and he's been doing a great job. He's a chip off the old block. But it's a very tragic day for many people in the music industry.
Oh, yeah. I have a friend who plays guitar, and I just happened to check out her Facebook page really quickly yesterday, and it was like, I know she's upset. She like posted something. It was really surreal. I mean, not to beat a dead horse, but 2020, I tell you, it just keeps hitting us hard.
Oh, yeah.
It's just, it's sad.
It really is. Losing anybody like that. I get, like you said, I have many dear friends who are musicians who've had massive amounts of influence from Eddie Van Halen. And even people who are just, avid amateur musicians, Tracy Gold, who played my sister on the show, her father, who's an agent, has a amateur band. They've been going to clubs forever and Eddie Van Halen was his absolute idol. He went and met him. He's seen him play many times, and I can tell you right now, I know for a fact he's probably in mourning. This man had an incredible effect on a lot of people's lives.
Yeah. And you guys, his battle was, I think, pretty private. I didn't even know about it.
Yeah, I didn't. I had no clue about it until I heard that he died. I was like, wait a minute, he was sick? I didn't even know he was sick. Regardless, whether it was private, whether it was public, it's still a huge loss for the music industry. He was a talent. He was a freaking an incredible talent. That unfortunately was gone too soon because, to pass away at the age of 65, that's still pretty young.
Oh, it's way too early, but this is the rock and roll lifestyle, and Eddie Van Halen, like many others, didn't clean up until much later in life. You live that hard and you damage your body that much for so long, what do you expect?
Right.
Yeah, and there were reports too that I don't know if this is actual factual or if this is just rumors, that he believed that he contracted throat cancer, or he developed, I should say, he developed throat cancer because of a pick that he kept on chewing on from a guitar pick. I guess
I heard that.
Pick. Yeah, I was like, that's a pretty interesting theory. I don't know if it's a sound theory, but I don't know. I mean, you have guitarists that are always chewing on picks all the time. I mean, you think you would hear more than just one case of throat cancer being developed off of a guitar pick.
It's a really interesting idea. I mean, when I read that, I thought, wow, I wonder what his doctor says. You know what I mean? Nowadays they say it's all around us. Cancer is everywhere. So in some sense, what do we know?
Well, that's exactly it. And I mean, think about it. They talk about not microwaving plastics because of the PCBs leaching in and all those kinds of things. So it's plastic. Who knows what type of plastic they're making the picks out of? I don't know. It could be feasible.
I mean, it's you never know nowadays. It's just one of those things where at this point we're just sad. The entertainment industry is sad that we lost a legend. It was a huge loss, but my condolences go out to the Van Halen family and to all fans of Van Halen. And we just have to continue moving forward and honor his memory as best as we can.
Absolutely.
And
his music will live on.
It will always live on. It will always live on. So, rest in peace, Eddie Van Halen. In other entertainment news, Jurassic World Dominion is delayed yet again for 2022. Now, this is just one of many movies that are actually being delayed thanks to COVID-19. And they were actually scheduled to be, or they were planned to be released in the summer of 2021. Not so much anymore, because now it's going to June 10th, 2022. And along with the delays goes Batman. Batman's another one that was delayed. Also because Pattinson, allegedly he caught Robert Pattinson allegedly caught COVID-19, so they had to also delay it because of that as well. But that one's another one that's going to be actually delayed as well, along with The Flash and Shazam 2. The Flash was delayed from June 2nd, 2022 to now November 4th, 2022. Shazam 2 will debut in theaters on June 2nd, 2023 now. Instead of its original date of November 4th, 2022. So they've got those movies that are going to be coming out way later. The one movie, however, that actually is moving up instead of going backwards is Matrix 4. Matrix 4 was scheduled to be released on April 1st, 2022. It's now got a new release date, which is December 22nd, 2021. So at least, we have that. And of course, again, the Batman, that one's delayed from October 1st, 2021 to March 4th, 2022. So a lot of delays going on in the movie industries. I mean, right now, experts are pretty much saying that if Marvel and DC are able to finish on time, they could flood the theaters all of 2021 with all their movies if they're able to finish in time. So, I mean, I have no complaints about that. I mean, I'm looking forward to a lot of these movies.
It'd be really cool to see, especially if they're able to hit it back to back to back with all of this in the can already. But, let's take a thought here for a moment for everybody in the industry, because this is, yes, it affects us as fans and the things we can watch and the entertainment we're waiting on, but this has thrown the entire industry, like all industries, into chaos. I mean, as you know, Lonni, nothing's in production.
Nope. I don't know about you, Jeremy. You're an actor. I act as well. If I could compare and contrast you guys, 2020 to 2019. 2019, I shot 3 commercials. I was crazy busy. I traveled to the Bahamas for a job. It was insane. 2020 comes around. Most of my auditions are via Zoom and or self-tapes. And I'm going to tell you something. I have a friend who's rocking it. He's booking. He shot a bunch of films and commercials. But for those of us who audition really well in person, it's been kind of tough. And
absolutely. I have a couple. I mean, like you said, I have a couple of friends that have worked pretty consistently.
But you have
But that shut up. I know what you're gonna say, Xander. I was
just shocked. That's news to me that you have friends.
I have many friends. I just don't introduce them to you because they wouldn't be my friends anymore.
Smart man. That's a smart man right there. Let me tell you.
What I was going to say though was, I have many friends who've been working consistently through this, but they're non-union.
Right.
Union gigs right now can't get insurance. So there's no union gigs working. It's exactly. I mean, there's so many people sitting on their, thumbs at the moment because there isn't any options.
Nope.
I mean, people don't realize the people behind the scenes hustle. They go from one job to the next, to the next, to the next. They are constantly hustling. The cameramen, the lighting men, the crew, the grips, everybody. And I mean, these guys work 6, 7, 8 different projects a year at least to keep going, and there's nothing. I mean, people are really hurting.
And the other issue here too is not only that, but I mean, what if in the middle of a shoot suddenly someone gets COVID or something? God forbid.
Well, that's why the insurance companies will not grant insurance coverage for a shoot right now.
It's a difficult situation right now.
And you guys, another thing is just that I was just thinking the delays too. We know how much goes into the red carpet events and these actors, having to promote the film for months at a time. So no red carpet events, no Oscars this year.
And even if you do have red carpet events, you get the backlash of how dare you go ahead and do a red carpet event in the middle of a pandemic? What's the matter with you? That could also hurt the movie as well. That could also hurt the popularity.
It would absolutely.
Yep.
It absolutely would. People, they would definitely be taken to task for not showing some responsibility. And that's why Sundance was canceled this year so far. Yeah. That's why all the, all the festivals, I doubt we'll see Cannes this year. It's a weird time in the entertainment industry, as everywhere.
But to kind of speak on a positive note, bummer for all the films in theaters, which I do miss going to the theater, but hooray for Netflix, Amazon Prime, HBO. I tell you,
they have really stepped up. It has been amazing to see, and I think we were very fortunate that most of the streaming services were really trying to ramp up their own programming before this started. So we've had some really good programming and entertainment to still, to keep us going.
Yes.
I mean, in my opinion, and this is something that I actually...
Nobody wants to hear your opinion.
I don't care. I'm going to give it anyway, okay? That's how I do things, all right? That's how I roll, son. No, what I was going to say is that basically, in my opinion, I think that movie theaters should consider, I mean, maybe I'm wrong in this, but maybe they should consider doing their premieres digitally, like do an app, do a AMC app or something like that, where you pay the regular price that you would for a ticket at a movie theater. Granted, I get it that a lot of their money is also derived from the concession stands, but in order to at least keep the lights on, at least go ahead and do the premiere on an app or something, which will cost like $30 or whatever to go ahead and rent the movie for one, like if you would go to a movie theater. There's no harm in that, really, in my opinion.
You know what I thought you were going to say, Xander? I thought you were going to say...
Something really bad? Something really naughty?
No, here's the idea. I thought you were going to say, I really want movie theaters to, which seems like everything, do something where they can do like a seating outdoors. I thought you were going to say that.
Well, they're trying to do that with a lot of drive-in that are starting to come back and everything. And that's cool and everything, but what if some people, don't have a vehicle? What if some people can't get to a drive-in? There's a lot of those issues as well. Not only that, but I mean, yes, outdoor seating is great and everything, but you still run the risk of getting infected by COVID if the wind blows in your direction or something. Someone sneezes, the wind blows right in your upwind, boom. Guess what? You might get it. So there's still risk involved with being outdoors as well.
There's absolutely risk involved, but we have had certain events that have pushed forwards and have shown that with proper distancing and with proper, making sure people wore, masks and things to protect them. I believe it was France or Germany who actually held a social experiment where they held a concert with, I think, 20,000 people, but they did it in a large arena, and everybody was spaced out, and they did masks and they did all this stuff, and the government actually tracked it, and they didn't have any cases come out of it. But they were kept certain distance apart. I mean, there's pictures of this concert. It's a very odd sight, seeing the crowd with all this space in it and everything, but they were able to do it. So, we're seeing a lot of the kind of front runners kind of create the path for a certain amount of safety. Similar to, not to get into sports too early, but similar to the NFL stepping up and showing that, okay, we're going to try and do it this way. Now, we've seen there's been some outbreaks, there's been whatever, but they've been able to keep it somewhat contained. They've postponed games, they've had a handle on it. Well, now that we have a blueprint, other college football teams, other sports are looking at that and saying, okay, here's something that we can follow with a certain degree of safety. That could work as well. It's just, again, I go back to the whole, like, what harm would it be to go ahead and just, give people the option to watch the movie from home? You still get, your money in there. And I could guarantee you that if they went ahead and did an app like that, they'd probably be making more money that way. I think it would be a good idea. The problem is, you brought it up already. It would have to be a very large markup on the ticket price. Yeah. Because with distributor fees, with what the filmmakers take, what the production company takes, what the distribution house takes, what the theaters actually see on ticket prices is bare minimal. That's why we pay such ridiculous amounts at the concession stand. So the markup would have to be pretty high for a ticket to do the app.
And then you have to ask yourself who's going, not to interrupt you, Jeremy, you have to ask yourself who's going to buy it, because a lot of people are on budgets right now. It's spending extra money on a movie that that's really not an essential. It's not one could argue it is, because we all need the escape from the reality right now sometimes, but a lot of folks don't want us to have families. They don't want to spend that much on a movie ticket, not when they can watch reruns at home or Netflix,
or they could just buy a bowl.
Well, yeah. Oh, we're back to that again.
Oh no, I meant the yoga bowl thing, not the other bowl. In other entertainment news, I guess we'll have to see what happens. In other entertainment news, Daniel Craig goes ahead and gives some advice to the next Bond. He was on Jimmy Fallon this week. He went ahead and talked a little bit about him bowing out of being 007 now and passing the torch on to somebody else. And his advice is pretty clear. He said, "Don't F it up."
Wow.
He said, quote, "It's a beautiful, amazing thing. Leave it better than when you found it." I actually like that. That was actually really good advice. So, I think Daniel Craig did an incredible job as James Bond. He really gave the character, credit. From its predecessors. Of course, Jeremy, I already know how you feel about one of them. Not too fond about one of them.
Two of them.
Two of them. Okay, what about Pierce, guys?
That's who he's talking about. That's one of them.
Oh no. Okay.
Yeah, I'm old school when it comes to Bond, and Timothy Dalton and Pierce Brosnan were just, for me, horrific as Bond. I did not enjoy those films at all, and I didn't like their takes on them. That was just me. My family, who also loved Bond, loved Pierce Brosnan in it.
I do too.
That's personally, I didn't dig on him at all.
Yeah. Well, guys, I don't know if you guys heard, I don't know who the next Bond will be, but I know there were some talks, and I don't know if this was just rumors. A lot of people were saying that Idris Elba.
That's the one we were talking about because that's who I would love if they follow through with that. I think he makes an incredible Bond.
Yeah, because we were actually a couple of episodes ago, Jeremy and I were talking because there was a rumor that Henry Cavill was also interested in the Bond role as well. Okay. But I mean, basically, Jeremy and I we talked about this and we felt that Henry's just too big. He's just too burly, to be a Bond. Yeah. Bond needs to be very, I guess, what you might limber, very.
Fit.
Not that big.
Debonair.
Exactly, and Henry's just too. I mean, he's playing Sherlock Holmes in the new Netflix original series, Enola Holmes, and he's just big there too. I can't see him as Sherlock either. Especially after seeing Robert Downey Jr. with that horrible English accent that he did. To Sherlock Holmes, and then here comes Henry Cavill, Superman, freaking ginormous man. I mean, doing Sherlock Holmes as well. I was like, I don't know about that one either, but I mean, and this is by no means I'm criticizing his acting. I'm just criticizing, the look for the role, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, Idris already has a British accent, which I'm always impressed that he's able to change that to an American accent for some of the roles that he's done here in the States. But, I mean, the man is just good looking, charming, tough. And I have to tell you, I have a pretty diverse group of girlfriends who all love them some Idris.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I figured that much.
The man has quite a following, and as you said, I don't know many females who don't swoon a bit with him. His talent is amazing, and like you said, he has that debonair, kind of unassuming. Well, not unassuming. I would say non-intimidating. It's not an overwhelming presence. Which I don't think Bond should be, It's that very smooth, and he has that. So,
and you hit the nail right on the head, Jeremy. I mean, that's the word I was going to use, is smooth, because that's the kind of persona that he personifies, for lack of a better word. I mean, he's got that smoothness about him, and I think he would make a great James Bond, to be honest. But you also threw in a curveball, Jeremy, and you mentioned another person that would actually make a good James Bond.
Yeah, I really, really think Tom Hiddleston could hit it on the head too. I think he really has the look. He, like you said, he still has that debonair, non-imposing, but still very, grabs your attention. I think he could make a very, very good Bond. But
a long time ago, I interviewed Blair Underwood on the red carpet. And at that time, he was younger. And I was like, Blair, you should be the next Bond, But now that we have Idris, I'm sorry, I'm vying for you guys, somebody black or Latin.
I would love it, especially with somebody like Idris. The first time I heard them mention his name connected with it, I just, in my mind, said, that's perfect.
Yeah,
I mean, you just mentioned Latin. I mean, could you imagine a Latin Bond? Like, somebody coming up like, "Orale, I want my tequila shaken, not stirred. All right, I want my tequila like that. All right." No says wait.
I was going to say, if we're talking about England, though,
that's true.
I'm not being racist here, but if you talk about the population and you want to go with a diverse Bond, Indian would make a heck of a lot more sense.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. That would be amazing.
With the large Indian population of England and London in particular, that would make a lot of sense. So finding a strong Indian actor with a British accent, I'm sure. So.
I mean, definitely possibilities are endless as far as the new Bond goes. But as it stands,
Daniel Craig says, "Don't fuck it up."
Pretty much.
Take the advice, guys.
Take that advice, because that's good advice coming from Daniel Craig. And the guy's intimidating as it is. I wouldn't want to mess with him.
No.
I mean, have you seen him? Like, would you mess with Daniel Craig? I wouldn't. Like, that guy's scary.
No.
I don't know. In my golden days, maybe. I'm old now.
Very true. Very true. Coming up next in sports news, Washington football team is benching Dwayne Haskins for Kyle Allen at quarterback. I wonder how that's going to go ahead and affect fantasy football. We'll find out coming up. But first, here is Dose Can't Get Enough right here on the Xander Effect.
so crazy, and I don't wanna see it, baby. Got all the girls out here hating. Me and my boys are here waiting. You know your body ain't playing. You know your body ain't playing. When I pull up, don't say a word. Captivate me with your body. Hypnotize me with your soul. My lucid dreams turn reality. I feel it, you know what you do to me.
Yourselves. This is your boy Qwes and White Piece. And guess what? You're listening to that super saucy show known as The Xander Effect. So make sure you tune in, turn up, and turn out for my boy Xander. You feel me?
The Xander Effect.
You dig?
Been floating around like the king of the sky. I put all the shit to the back of my mind. Just like a dose of perspective to silence the noise. You're turning me up like I'm one of the boys. No, I can't stop, cause it feels so good. No, I can't stop, like I know I should. Going non-stop till I'm understood. You got me so hooked. I'm high on your love. I'm high on your love. We started off slow, now we're doing it right. My head's on a roll every day, every night. The way my body reacts when you're giving me feels. like I know I should. Going non-stop till I'm understood. You got me so hooked. 'Cause baby, I'm high on your love. 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 I'm so high. 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 No, I can't stop, 'cause it feels so good. No, I can't stop, like I know I should. Going non-stop till I'm understood. You got me so, 'cause baby, I'm high on your love. I'm so high on your love, love the feeling. I'm high on your love. I get high on your love, let me feel. I'm high on your love. I'm so high on your love, love the feeling. I'm high on your love. I get high on your love like I'm dreaming.
That was Safura's High on Your Love right here on the Xander Effect. Looks like Washington football is benching Dwayne Haskins for Kyle Allen at quarterback. And I mean, Jeremy, as far as fantasy football goes, actually just as far as that goes, I mean, what are your thoughts about that? I mean, that seems like a little bit harsh going into week 5.
Well, I'm not a big fan of throwing rookie quarterbacks out there, especially on bad teams, which are the ones who tend to need to start a rookie. So you're pulling the rug out from under him before he really gets his feet wet. I mean, 4 games is not enough time to judge somebody who did not get a full camp and, is really just still coming out of college. So, I personally don't like starting them in the first place, but I think if you're going to, you don't pull the rug out from under him this quick.
And here's the other issue, too, is that not only did he bench Haskins and put in Kyle Allen, but he also elevated Alex Smith to number 2. So Haskins completely, he's been downgraded completely in that team right now. That's something that, and they even asked Coach Ron Rivera of the Washington football team, which I cannot get, I still cannot get over that name. Washington football. Come on, give these guys give these guys a name, for God's sake. You're driving me nuts with that. But Coach Ron Rivera was asked, and he said that he was going to go ahead and keep Haskins, but I think maybe the office is pressuring them to get rid of him.
Yeah, there's so much pressure when you're in that position. I tell you, it's like, you wait for the opportunity because that's your opportunity when you're second string or third string. But man, when the opportunity comes, as Jeremy was saying, it's a lot of pressure, to go from college play, I don't know what his background, to then go to pros in that position. It's tough.
And I mean, at this point, it just seems that it's a little harsh, but maybe they're trying to at least salvage some of the season, because right now the team is 1-3. So it's a tough position to be in, but more than likely he was probably getting pressured from the front office and saying, dude, you got to make some changes in your lineup, otherwise we're going to have a really bad year. We're already having a bad year. So I can see that. The
pressure's there top to bottom, and I understand that. I mean, the GM's got to keep his job, the coach's got to keep his job, so on. But that's why you don't make him your starting quarterback in the first place. If there was any chance that you're going to demote him this quickly, why did you start him in the first place? If he's bad enough that you've got to make him the third stringer, he should never have been your starting quarterback in the first place. He should have been sitting on the bench learning.
And here's the other issue along with that. Let's go to fantasy football owners, the ones that figured that this starting quarterback was going to go ahead and put up numbers, is now benched. That's going to affect their numbers as well, I would imagine.
Oh, it absolutely will, fantasy-wise. But, I mean, I have to say, anyone who was relying on Dwayne Haskins for their season was pretty screwed as it is. If you made that decision before draft day, then your season was pretty much screwed already. It's not that he didn't have some potential upside to flash. Some people talked about him having some big games, but Washington's offense is not a powerhouse. And, again, it's fantasy football. You mitigate risk. Why in the world would you take a young, unproven quarterback, when there were so many other options out there? I mean, it just, from a fantasy perspective, you better have some backups, and Dwayne Haskins should never have been your starter. So unless you had a major injury beforehand and he was the only guy you had left you could start, this really shouldn't affect too many fantasy football teams.
I'm just thinking right now he's probably not feeling real good about himself.
No.
I always think about like what they're feeling behind the scenes,
And they also have to go ahead and ask themselves, what am I doing here?
Right?
It makes you second guess yourself, I would imagine. I mean, going from a starting position to now third string, that's just right there. I mean, and the other thing too that's possible, maybe the chemistry wasn't working between him and his teammates. That could be another issue right there, is that he just wasn't mixing well with them. And because of that, mistakes were made. And now he's paying the price for it as leader of the team, because I mean, quarterbacks are known to be pretty much the leaders. They're the ones that are going to go ahead and get the ball downfield. They're the ones that are going to make decisions of whether or not they're going to run it, which way they're going to run it, which way they're going to pass it, etc. And so, being a leader, that's more pressure on you as well. So
chemistry is a big deal. You guys, did he have a lot of sacks? Like, did he throw a lot of interceptions? Like, what happened?
It's been a rough 4 games for him. Yeah, he's taken he's taken some big sacks. Not really his fault as much. I mean, his line's broken down.
Right.
But yeah, he's a young quarterback. That's just what it is. It
happens.
I'll like what you said, Xander. There's so many things that could be going into it. The chemistry, the relationship with the coach, anything. I'll take it back to the 80s when Elway came in. I've talked about this before. His coach was Dan Reeves. Dan Reeves and him hated each other. Dan Reeves wanted a certain type of safe quarterback, a little dink and dunk thing who'd never put the team at risk. Elway was this dynamic quarterback with all these tools who didn't want to be handcuffed, and they could not work it out. We're talking about, as I've said, in my opinion, the greatest quarterback to ever play the game.
Oh, yeah.
And at one point, Dan Reeves wanted him traded.
Wow.
So that tells you something about what goes on behind the scenes. And hopefully Haskins can keep that in mind to some degree, that maybe it's not all about, him not being good enough. Maybe he can keep pushing forwards and come back from this.
I mean, and we also have, going back to, we had a conversation about this as well, Jeremy, in regards to what happened with the New York Jets quarterback. I mean, Mark Sanchez.
What happened to Mark Sanchez? By the way, Mark Sanchez, can I just throw this in there, is easy on the eye.
I expected we might hear that.
Eventually, we were going to hear something about that. I'm surprised. I'm surprised that you didn't say that sooner, there, Lonni. But
unfortunately for Mark, he it's a similar situation. He got thrown in as a rookie on a very bad team in a similar situation to the Dan Reeves situation. The coach he had when he came in was a conservative coach who wanted to run, didn't want to do anything but throw 5-yard passes, and that's not the quarterback that Sanchez was. And it ruined his game. He played very well the year he came out, and every year after that, he declined. His numbers declined, his accuracy declined, his ability to work in that system went down every single year. And it was a shame to watch because he was a very talented quarterback. And again, they ruin these young quarterbacks by throwing them in too early. I'm a very big fan of the old school way, like they did with Carson Palmer in Cincinnati. Brought him in, let him sit for 2 years behind John Kitna to learn the system, and then the kid comes out and starts blowing everybody away. That's how you do it.
And then you have a case where, and I'm just going to plug the Steelers for a bit.
There we go.
We go way back, you know.
Oh, here we go again.
Here we go, Steelers. Here we go. No, I'm going to just go back. And, you know, during, I don't know what season it was. It was a while back when Charlie Batch was playing. I'm only using this as an example, Jerry, to sort of piggyback on what you're saying. The Steelers lucked out because they had Ben, but then they had their backup being Charlie, who had already played for Detroit. So he had a little bit of, he had some experience under his wings. Not only that, he and Ben, and I know this for a fact, were super close. Like they would share information. He was all in anytime. So then when Ben got injured and then Charlie had to step up and and be the starter, he was able to sort of just step up with grace and get the job done. But he was a little older and he had some experience already. So there's something to be said about that.
And the other thing too is that like when we're comparing all these quarterbacks along with the relationship with their coach, I mean look at Aaron Rodgers and Mike McCarthy. Mike McCarthy's golden boy was Brett Favre, and as soon as Favre left, Rodgers came in. They could not get along. Like Mike McCarthy could not get along with Aaron Rodgers. It was, you know, I mean, it was one of those things where they were always butting heads over certain things up until McCarthy left, and then Matt LaFleur came in, and there were rumors that they were also butting heads a little bit here and there, but they finally came to an agreement and a chemistry that they could finally agree with. And that's important. And the relationship between the quarterback and his coach is always incredibly important for it to actually work for the entire team. I mean, that's the reason why Bill Belichick and Tom Brady worked out so well, because I mean, I always said this. Papa Belichick always had his little boy Tom Brady's, you know, back all the time. So I mean, now that Brady's with Tampa Bay, I mean, we were talking about this the other day, Lonni, how like they would you know put the camera on Tom Brady. He had this look on his face.
Oh,
like,
totally.
I miss Papa Belichick. Get me back over there.
Yeah, be careful what you wish for. Be careful what you wish for, because I tell you, I mean, I give him props, man, because the dude, just his discipline is just incredible. I always say I wish the Steelers had him, but the look on his face the other day, yeah, he definitely looked like a fish out of water. He looked
like the scoreboard, and he was grinding his teeth because they were only up by 3, and he was like, man, we should be destroying these. Oh wait, this isn't Papa Belichick's team. Never mind.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely you know, it's definitely worth to note that all these chemistries have a lot to do with a player and how well they're going to perform out in the field with the pressure that's on top of them as well.
Well, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, if you look at the great dynasties, you know, especially in football, you always have that quarterback who is associated with that coach. Aikman and Johnson, Montana and Walsh. I mean, you always, of the great dynasties, you always have that connection between the two leaders, the head coach and the quarterback. And
Chuck Noll, Terry Bradshaw.
Absolutely. You know, and those names are always said in the same breath. You know, in the discussion. So, yeah, that relationship is so crucial. And again, you see it in the history of football. Belichick and Brady, all the dynasties.
And that's how it always continue to be. That's just the way it goes. And, you know, I mean, it's unfortunate for this young quarterback to get benched third string, but hopefully while he's there, he might learn a few things and he might actually get better. So this might be a good move for him. I don't know. We'll see what happens with that. In other sports news, Dave Bautista went ahead and confessed that when he was wrestling in the WWE, he actually hid inhalers underneath the wrestling ring due to his asthma. And he actually went ahead and posted on social media. He was responding to somebody on social media that said that they complimented complimented him, on his impressive work as a wrestler. And he said, quote, "I hit inhalers under the ring and with people working around the ring. I'm not kidding. The cold venues were my nightmare." I mean, could you imagine being, a wrestler having that much, work? I mean, because wrestlers, the drama may be staged, scripted, whatever you want, but the actual wrestling is real, and it takes a toll on your body, let alone somebody that has asthma problems. I mean, as big as the guy is, because Dave Bautista is like ginormous. He's a freaking, he's a freaking truck of a man. You would have never known that, he has that weakness, which is, well, I mean, not a weakness, but I mean, it's just an unfortunate thing that he was born with, of asthma. And,
what an inspiration, though. What an inspiration he can be now for young kids, like my nephew, and various people who love wrestling.
Well, I mean, yeah, he's definitely an inspiration. I wouldn't call him like the end all be all of inspiration, because I mean, if you guys remember a few years ago, there was a wrestler that wrestled with one leg. If you guys can remember that.
Wow. No, I don't remember that.
Yeah. This is back in early 2000s. They had this one wrestler that actually wrestled with only one leg. And talk about, like, it was incredible how they were able to see. I can't remember his name right now. I'll remember it soon enough. But he wrestled with one leg, and he did a great job. He actually did a great job. He was very entertaining. He won a couple of matches too. I mean, obviously they're set up that way, but it's really cool to actually see, because wrestlers have to communicate with each other while they're in the ring. They have to tell each other what's the next move, what's going to happen next, where they're going to fall, how's it going to go down, because that's what's very important when it comes to wrestling, is the communication between the two athletes in the ring. They may hate each other. They may hate each other, even in real life, they may actually really not like each other or really hate each other. But when they're in the ring, they throw all that out, because they know that at the end of the day, they have each other's lives in the palm of their hands, in the palm of each other's hands. I mean, there was and
for that reason, people say it's not real. Although my great aunt, you guys, God rest her soul, she was amazing. My Aunt Bert loved wrestling, and don't you ever tell her it's not real.
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing, is that it's an unfortunate fact that there have been accidents that have happened in the ring. I mean, you have a wrestler.
Owen Hart
was, well, that was just a horrible freak accident that happened with him. But I'm talking about actual, like, in-ring accidents, as far as when a wrestler like makes a bad move. Ivan Drozdov is paralyzed from the neck down.
Yeah, Droz.
Because of a bad move that D'Lo Brown did on him by accident. It was a complete accident. He dropped him on his neck and broke it. And he's paralyzed now from his neck down for the rest of his life because of that. D'Lo has to live with that for the rest of his life. That he screwed the pooch on that. I mean,
absolutely.
And like that, there are many other wrestlers that they say, I timed it wrong.
It almost happened to Nikki Bella.
Wow.
She got very lucky. She got put down, I believe it was a pile driver or a suplex, and she fractured one of the vertebrae in her back and could have been paralyzed. And she actually continued to wrestle. She continued going, even though she knew something was seriously wrong, and did what they do when they're hurt, is she went down. She basically let the opponent know, it's over, I'm taking the loss. I mean, it was like that quick. But she suffered a broken back. It was a fractured vertebrae. And had it been, another millimeter of pressure, whatever you want to call it, it could have paralyzed her for life. I mean, this is, although as Xander said, the results are scripted, the physical punishment these people take is real. Not. It is as real as can be.
Yeah.
And not only that, I mean, we also have another female wrestler that also almost got paralyzed, Lita. Yeah. Lita went for a diving, a swan dive, or whatever, from the middle of the rope to the outside of the ring, and when she landed head and neck first into the barricade of the crowd, and you could see her neck just go back. I'm like, oh, I could feel that from here. And she actually had to have neck surgery. Doctors are saying she probably would never be able to wrestle again. Same thing happened with Edge. Edge is another one that also suffered neck injuries. Neck injuries happen all the time in WWE. I mean, granted, they're becoming more, vigilant on that, but it still happens, unfortunately. So hearing that Batista has, asthma and everything, that would probably be the least of his issues that he had in the ring, because I'm sure that he also suffered some pretty physical, some physical injuries.
Oh, I can only imagine. How much does the average wrestler make?
The average wrestler, not a heck of a lot, actually.
Yeah, not really.
Unless you make it to the big show and make it as one of the stars.
Okay.
These guys die broke. With very broken bodies. I mean, that's just
pardon my ignorance, you guys. The only person I can think of is Hulk Hogan. Well, we know for him, his name and just, the merchandise sold, with his name, probably what made him all the money that he's made.
Well, it all depends. I mean, a guy like him, I believe, was making in his heyday, close to $5-10 million a year.
Wow.
And that was his share from WWE.
Wow.
That wasn't just his merchandising. So he was, but he was the top. I mean, that was it. The Rock, those guys, they were all making millions out of that.
John Cena as well.
John Cena.
A lot.
But if you are not that level, you're just floating. There are so many great wrestlers that are mid-level people who just float through this industry. And it's just so sad to see that if they don't get into the broadcasting side of it, or if they don't get into something else where they get to continue, they end up very, very painfully crippled old men who really can't take care of themselves because there's no financial stability for them.
And there's also rumor as well, this is just a rumor that I heard a long time ago, is that if you're a heel, which means you're a bad guy, you actually make more money as a heel than you do as a good guy. At least that's what I heard a long time ago.
It would it would make a lot of sense because as a good heel, you got to take a lot of heat. And I mean, you are taking a lot from the fans, a lot of verbal abuse, sometimes physical abuse. So it would make sense that you're giving them a little extra bump for that.
So I mean, and again, you got to give them all props for everything that they do. I mean, there's a lot of the wrestlers are actually starting to get smart. A lot of the younger wrestlers are starting to get smart, but WWE is also kind of like they're kind of tying their hands too, because a lot of these wrestlers, they were trying to start their own YouTube channels. They were trying to start their own thing, and WWE said you can't do that anymore. You're not allowed to do that anymore. They actually they tied their hands. They couldn't. I mean, there's a lot of wrestlers that had their own like YouTube subscribers, everything. They couldn't do that anymore because I guess it was a conflict of interest. I guess
it's not a conflict of interest. It's Vince McMahon doing what he always does and trying to keep ultimate control of how his performers are perceived. He does not want them to be able to control their own image. He's never allowed his wrestlers to do that. He has an image that they are expected to maintain, and that's it. I mean, he has always maintained that much control over his brand, and he's shooting himself in the foot. I mean, as you said, Xander, this is the way of the world now, and the popularity that he could bring even more to his brand is huge, but he doesn't see that. He sees the old school, it has to be my way. It has to, he's got a rather narrow way of thinking, it would appear at the moment.
And they should be able to do YouTube. It's like,
the other thing too is that or Vince doesn't see any money coming his way from the YouTube as well. It's not fiscally advantageous for him to actually allow his wrestlers to go into the business for themselves because, like you said, Jeremy, that's the control he has over them. And if they can make a business for themselves, they don't need him. They don't need for him to go ahead and pretty much say, well, either work for me or you're fired. No, like these guys will be like, fine, fire me. I have my YouTube. I got my fans. I got my money. Bye. Yeah. You know, but he doesn't want that because he knows that, especially now that he also has to compete against AEW and other wrestling organization he has to compete with. Granted, it's not huge competition yet. I mean, AEW is actually still a growing organization. It's doing pretty well. It's been beating NXT week by week in the ratings wars on Wednesdays. So it's one of those things where he has to go ahead and see that too, and he doesn't like that. And let me tell you something. This is an issue. Going back to something you mentioned, Jeremy, about how Vince McMahon is still old school. This is an issue that Paul Levesque, a.k.a. Triple H, has been having with Vince. Like, Paul Levesque is practically, Paul Levesque is his son-in-law. He's married to his daughter, Stephanie McMahon. And Triple H, he's the one that created NXT. He's the one that found these young wrestlers and this young talent, and everybody has praised him. No sooner did he start doing well, that's when Vince stepped in and said, I'm still alive here. I'm still alive here, and I still have say. So it's difficult for anybody to try to circumvent Vince because he just doesn't want to let go. He doesn't want anybody to have any control over his brand. Granted, it's his. He took it over when his father died, Vince McMahon Sr. I mean, he took it over and he made it what it is today. But times have changed. It's time to go ahead and listen to the fans, and that's something this refuses to do. He refuses to listen to them. And so I don't know. It's a pretty interesting situation what wrestlers have over there. But again, massive props for Dave Bautista to be telling people that, hey, you know what? Even though I was in there busting my butt, I had an issue that I had to go ahead and take care of. And that's actually a very, very creative way of continuing to wrestle, even with asthma, is just hiding, inhalers all over the place. Taking some time out. That's actually very, very, very innovative for him to do that. So props to him for doing that. Yeah. In other sports news, the Lakers are just saying, nah, we're going to win this. They went ahead and got their victory, Game 4 victory against the Miami Heat, 102-96. And before the game started, the leader of the locker room, LeBron James, went ahead and texted his Lakers group chat. He said just 2 words: must win. Love it. And that's the only thing he needed to tell everybody. Anthony Davis said, quote, "We see the message from our leader." It's that simple. And he just left it at that. I mean, you gotta see that the Lakers, they're hungry for that championship. They want that championship. LeBron wants another ring. I mean, they're doing this for Kobe. They're doing this for Los Angeles. They're doing it for everybody. And they're doing a great job. So at this point, they meet up against Miami on Friday, and that'll either be the championship, game for the Lakers. That'll be it, because they're only 1 game away from winning the series, from winning the championship, and that'll be on Friday. So here's hoping that happens. I mean, right now, as it stands on the other side of the spectrum, Jimmy Butler, the leader of his locker room, is basically, he's saying, quote, well, actually, I wouldn't even quote him on this. He's basically saying that the confidence is still going to remain high. So they still have confidence that they could beat the Lakers. Good luck with that. We'll see what happens on Friday. But it's getting good right now in the NBA.
You know what I loved in the postgame? I saw the interview where they were talking to LeBron about just how he and Anthony Davis, how they challenge each other, how he challenges him, and how, he just how much confidence he has on whoever is on the floor, in that clutch moment. And I love the fact that he was because I really feel like in sports and a lot of things in life, so much of what you speak and believe comes into fruition. So whether he truly, truly believes it or not, just by saying he believes in all of them and their ability is one of the reasons why I think the Lakers are successful.
I would have to definitely agree with that. And I think if you listen to LeBron now, and given, I mean, it's always possible that it's fake, but it doesn't seem it. He has matured. It's obvious. This is not the selfish young player that he was. I believe he's dealing with a lot with why he wants to win. Of course, he wants to continue his legacy, continue the discussion with who's the best between him and Jordan. The more championships he gets, the more that comes into play, so on and so forth. But it's not about him anymore. He feels the legacy of coming to the Lakers, one of the greatest franchises ever, and wanting to live up to coming to a franchise of such renown. He feels pressure living up to and honoring Kobe, who he's already said was his inspiration, who he watched in high school. You know, that was his inspiration, was his guy. And he said the only real regret he has in his life was he was supposed to sit down and have dinner with Kobe at one point, and they never got the chance.
It's sad. It's a sad situation.
So he's feeling that pressure. He wants to honor him. He wants to honor the franchise. He wants to live up to that legacy. He wants to live up to his own legacy. And he's got the perfect sidekick. The way they were talking about their relationship, there is not a single bit of jealousy between the two of them. They each look at each other like brothers. Like, I want to do what I can do to make him as great as he can be. And when you have teammates who look at each other like that, man, that is a recipe for long-term success.
That's what you need. I mean, when you look at the Warriors, I was living up in the Bay Area, Steph and his name escapes me.
Steph and Clay.
Steph and Clay. You know, I mean, they both of them are like brothers out there.
Absolutely.
And they're 3-point monsters. I mean, they're like
crazy.
Like if one doesn't make the three, the other one does, and they just went back and forth. It was like a nightmare for so many teams. They're like, oh, we're going up against Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. We're screwed. I mean, it was so bad. But I mean, they definitely have to have that kind of of relationship, and so far it seems like LeBron has definitely stepped up to his role as locker room leader, and he's done such a great job. I mean, he's gotten the Lakers this far. The pressure's on for him to take them all the way, and again, going back to what you said, Jeremy, about his maturity level, he's more mature than he was when he first started in the game. And he's changed a lot. He's definitely seen things in a much different perspective. I think that even Kobe's passing also made him, realize a few things as well.
Absolutely.
See things from a very, very different perspective at that point, to the point that now he's like, you know what, I need to, I need to reevaluate. He needed to reevaluate a few things. I'm sure he did. And the proof is in the pudding. Look what's going on now. And he's just, there to make sure that his team gets that title, and he's doing a great job for it. So again, game 4 or no, game 5.
Yeah.
Game 5
coming up.
Game 5 coming up Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern on ABC. So make sure you check your local listings for that one. Cannot wait to see that. Coming up next in video game news, looks like Xbox has already started the trash talk against PS5. And it's something really small, but it's still kind of funny anyway. But first, here is Lifeline's Rasta right here on the Xander Effect.
I am Rastafari, I am. 'Cause I am Rastafari, I am.
Jah wake me up early to find Zion. I keep searching, I do. Trying to get away from Babylon, they can't stop me. It's true. I'm cleaning out my trays to Jah I pray. righteous worldview. While they push the lies, try to close my eyes, I still grow my garden for you.
And it's so hard for the world to understand. It ain't so hard to reach the promised land. 'Cause I am Rastafari, I am. 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 And we be feeling good late at night. It puts our thoughts in view. And we can party all night, and then turn the lights down low. Rastafari. 'Cause I ain't got no more time. It's growing in the backyard all over. And I let the sunlight brighten my day. And it's so hard for the world to understand. It ain't so hard to reach the promised land. 'Cause I am Rastafari, I am. 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 Got the Rasta in my blood. And it feels so good, yeah. 'Cause I am Rastafari, I am. 'Cause I am Rastafari, I am. 'Cause I am Rastafari, I am. 'Cause I am Rastafari, I am.
This is Maxim Model Riley Sawyer, and you're listening to the Xander Effect.
Fuck 'em all. First I'm burning all my bridges, then I'm fucking these bitches. First I'm burning all my bridges, then I'm fucking these bitches. I'll make you proud. Slap the hoes that turn me down. I did not come back this time to fuck around. Talking all that shit, I know. You're never gonna make it, kid. Let it go. Think what could have been. Think what could have been. When all the pain hits home, I'll make it on my own and shut you out again. Shut you out again. Play dumb, now me too. Think I forgot, well I didn't. Fuck you. Here's a mic dick. What you won't say, what you won't do. Sick of paying dues cause they only lead to you. You and me saying. You and me saying. Running your mouth disrupting my day. Never did I care what word that you say. Talking all that shit, I know. You're never gonna make it, kid. Let it go. Think what could have been. Think what could have been. When all the pain hits home, I'll make it on my own and shut you out again. Shut you out again. Burning all my bridges, then I'm fucking these bitches. First I'm burning all my bridges, then I'm fucking these bitches. I'll make you proud. Slap the
was Dirty Machines BBFB right here on the Xander Effect. In video game news, looks like Xbox is taking its first jab at PS5 because I guess PS5, the new system that's coming out right now, you have to, in order for it's switching the console from a vertical to a horizontal orientation. And in order to make it go vertical, you have to like take a screw off or something like that. Well, when Xbox found out about that, they decided to playfully post a tweet with their system, how it's easy to just, look, they said, quote, how to switch the Xbox Series X from vertical to horizontal. You just, you just turn it. Down. You just turn it. You just turn it. That's all you got to do. So they started poking fun about that. I was like, yeah. So, I mean, that like looks like the trash talk might begin already. But I mean, PS5 decided to go ahead and open up its system. It's providing more. It has an internal fan that is able to cool off the system because these systems get really hot. So that's good for PS5 to have done that. Plus, they also included a few other things too. So I mean, but that tweet itself, it was such a simple tweet, but hilarious. Yeah. So props for Xbox on doing that.
That's a nice little bit of shade. Yep.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. They're throwing shade because, it's a competitive industry, which, by the way, you guys, the other day when we were talking about video games,
this is other video game news right here. You got a little ahead of me there, Lonni.
Yeah. Okay. So I admitted that, I don't play that many video games, but there was one that I really, really enjoyed that I played recently. So the name of the game is Beat Saber. And it's a VR game. It's a PS4.
Oh, I've actually heard of that.
Have you heard of it?
Yeah, I think my son might have been playing that on, I think, his Oculus or whatever.
Yeah, so it's really cool. It has like the latest rock songs, whatever you want. You have this wand and you basically wear the headset, the virtual set, and you move to the beat of the music. And so you can go from very low tempo to very advanced, which is fast. And it's a bit of a video dance. And you're like slaying all these things coming at you, but moving in tune with the music. So that's the game that I love. If I'm going to play, I'll play Beat Saber.
I like that. I'm going to have to check that one out.
I'm poor, so I can't afford VR. I'm just gonna put that out there. I mean, Christmas is coming up, so hint, hint, nudge, nudge, wink, wink.
I don't love you that much.
You know what? That's just hurtful. Why would you say that on air? I mean, that's just
because I want it on record.
That's just hurtful, man. I mean, you can easily say that off the air. God, I hate you too.
Thank you.
That's all I can say on that one.
It makes me feel loved.
And I love you both.
Thank you, Lonni.
Thank you, Lonni.
I'm here to bring the love.
See, she makes it all tolerable.
Give her time.
I can put up with you more now.
Give her time. Give her time. Eventually, she'll join the dark side. In other video game news, so we were talking about this before we went on the air, and we were talking about how Cobra Kai has developed a video game. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Double Dragon too, in the same graphics, gameplay, everything. But it's just so funny. It's just they're really trying to cash in now that they're Netflix. Now they have a video game. I mean, they're really, really like reaching out here, and I'm wondering if our buddy Sean Kanan is going to be in that at all. That would be interesting.
I really hope so. Again, they need to bring Mike Barnes back into this world, and as I've said, I really hope if they do, they bring him back as a pacifist or something.
That's what. Well, that was the interview. That was the interview that he said it would be kind of fun if he was like kind of like a complete hippie or something. But
yeah, exactly.
But I'm talking about the video game.
No, I know you're talking about the video game, and that'd be very cool if they brought him back or allowed him to do some voice work. But Man, as a video game fan, this just feels very Shaq Fu-y to me. This feels
Shaq Fu-y. I like that word. Jeremy.
Well, that was one of the worst martial arts video games of all time, and
I remember that. I can't believe you brought that up.
This just feels like a cash grab. You know, that's what it feels like to me. I hope they do it justice. I hope they do it well, but this feels like a cash grab.
Honestly,
this feels very much like Shaq Fu, and it does not make me want to go out and grab the game. It doesn't. It makes me go, dear God, that can't be good.
I mean,
I hope it is. I hope it is.
Hey guys, I haven't even watched it yet. I haven't even watched Cobra Kai, so.
On you.
You will have to
say something like that right now.
You'll have to check it out because it is definitely a throwback. That's for sure.
Yeah, because I did like Karate Kid back in the day. I was a Karate Kid fan.
Oh, you'll love this one. You'll love this.
So,
It definitely does. It definitely gives Karate Kid its justice,
and it captures the genre very well.
And it's very unexpected. Each character's role in Cobra Kai. Yeah, it's very unexpected. So, but going back to the game, I mean, I'll be honest. It doesn't. I mean, it could be because maybe Cobra Kai isn't popular just yet. But it's going for a pretty cheap price. It's going for like I think $30, $29.99 is what I saw on the Xbox store. So chances are you may be hitting the nail right on the head there, Jeremy, by saying that this could be just a cash grab, simply because of the price. If it was one of those games that it was like, you know, like really big, it would go for $59.99 regular price. But
you know, you would have heard about this in development for a couple of years, and you would have been seeing the lead up. So it just doesn't it doesn't fill me with a lot of hope that this is going to be a groundbreaker or something.
Yep. So I mean, that's something to see. I might be so morbid enough to go ahead and buy it. To be honest with you, just for morbid, just to see what it's like. I mean, I'm kind of tempted, but I'm like, oh, don't.
From the guy who can't afford the Oculus, you know, if you quit buying crap games just to see,
Hey, Madden's not a crap game, all right?
I didn't say that. I would never say that.
I mean, granted, it has like, oh, dude, Madden pisses me off. Oh, you know what? Before we go out here, I do have one gripe with Madden. Well, I have many gripes.
You have many gripes with Madden. What is it this week?
This week, what's going on with Madden? What irritates the ever-living hell out of me is that EA, how in the blue hell could you do this to your players, to the people that buy this game? You go ahead and you play a solo battle, or not a solo battle, one of the solo challenges on Madden Ultimate Team, and you're supposed to go ahead and, for example, like one of the challenges is to throw the ball 40 yards, 50 yards, whatever, in one throw, in one play. You go ahead and you do it. Then the AI grabs horse collars and also grabs blatant pass interference. Every single time you try to do that, no call. The refs are on EA's payroll. No freaking call whatsoever, and that really pisses me off. Because if I do something like that, boom, call. I'm like, really? Really, EA? Really? You're going to go ahead and do that to your players? They really need to fix that. They really need to fix that. Because I still have a theory that I'm thinking that EA needs to have their players, the people that buy the game, be active, so they make these challenges harder, or they screw people like this harder in order to keep them playing the freaking game. You know, for some reason or other. I don't know. Maybe they, it's like YouTube. The more hits, the better the game is. I have no idea.
We've talked about this before.
There might be something to it.
It's, for me, it's lazy programming. I like the idea. Make it more challenging to keep people involved, but find a way to get these devs who you're paying large amounts of money to actually make it harder. Don't put cheating in there to make it harder for you to do. Make the defense and the AI smarter. Make it harder. Make it a tougher defender. Make it, all those things that it should be. that they've implemented all over the rest of the game. But you see this in so many games, and it's not just sports games, where all of a sudden you get to a level and they want it to be really hard, and instead of it just being tougher or they just have more health or whatever it is, there's some little cheat type thing that they do, and to me it's just lazy programming.
It's annoying programming. I hate it. It really irritates me, but it's wishful thinking. I doubt EA will even care to go ahead and do any of that. So
with the millions and billions they're making on that game alone, I mean, why would they change it if everybody's just going to buy it anyway?
What are you trying to say? I mean, what
I'm saying you're part of the problem.
Wow, I thought you were at least going to sugarcoat it at the very least on that.
With you, hell no.
That's the news in case you haven't heard it. Thank you so much for joining us on the Xander Effect. Again, I'd like to thank my pain in the ass co-host, Jeremy Miller. Thanks, buddy, for being here as always.
Right here, always a pleasure busting your balls.
And, of course, our brand new co-host, the lovely Lonni Rivera. Lonni, thanks so much for being with us and tolerating us as much as you did today again.
Great to be back, you guys, and I'll see you back here on Friday.
Yes, you definitely will. And remember, everybody out there, we're still in a pandemic, regardless of certain people out there that decide that, hey, there's nothing really wrong with coronavirus. So I'm not going to go ahead and mention any names. But remember, we're still in a pandemic. Wear your gloves if you got them. Wear your goggles if you got them. Wear your masks. Very important. That mask needs to stay on to avoid the spread of this virus. It's very, very deadly, regardless of certain opinions of people. It's very deadly. Make sure that you take care of yourselves. Watch each other's backs. Practice basic hygiene. Wash your hands.
Did you say wash each other's backs?
Watch each other's backs. Watch them. Watch.
Okay.
Make sure that you wash your hands. Use hand sanitizer, and remember, we're in this together. We're still in the battle together. And remember, music always heals all. We'll see you next time.
Yeah, I was ain't open that mouth. Sure that she's talking and open that mouth. If it say something, we jumping it out. And then there's something it out. And then it's got it, it's part of this something we got it. Something that's what we got it. And then we done it, we go loud. And it say something, we open it out.
The Xander Effect is powered by 50/50 Global Music Inc., Sony Music The Orchard, and BMG Bertelsmann. In association with Art 19 Media.